3:47 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, federal agents sealed my former employer's headquarters, and a Department of Defense Major General demanded to know why unauthorized foreign nationals were accessing classified defense data. The CFO, who'd fired me 12 hours earlier, stood in the lobby, locked out of his own building, watching armed agents secure the server room. "Where is Anna Kozlov?" the Major General demanded. The CFO's hands were shaking. We terminated her yesterday to cut costs." "You terminated your compliance architect, the only person with proper security clearance and root encryption keys, while working on an active DoD contract?" I got the call at 4:15 p.m., the Major General himself. "Miss Kozlov, we have a national security incident at your former workplace. We need you here immediately." "I'm no longer employed there," I said calmly. "If you need my expertise, we'll need to discuss consulting terms." This is the story of how a CFO tried to replace 14 years of specialized federal security expertise with a $15 an hour outsourced team and accidentally triggered a Department of Defense lockdown. My name is Anna Kozlov, and I spent 14 years as the senior compliance architect at Titan Defense Solutions, a mid-size contractor that builds secure communication systems for military applications. My job wasn't glamorous. I didn't code flashy apps or design sleek interfaces. I managed the infrastructure that kept classified information encrypted, ensured federal compliance with defense protocols, and maintained the security clearances required to handle restricted data. I held a top-secret SCI clearance. I was the primary liaison with Department of Defense oversight. I controlled the root encryption keys for our entire classified network. In 14 years, we'd never had a security breach, never failed an audit, never triggered a federal investigation. Then Carter Reeves became our new CFO. Carter was a business optimization guy from the private sector who'd never worked with government contracts. He looked at spreadsheets, not security protocols. 3 weeks after he started, he called a budget review meeting. "We're bleeding money in overhead," he announced, pulling up a presentation. "This compliance department is a perfect example. We're paying Anna $185,000 a year plus benefits to essentially babysit servers and fill out paperwork." I felt my jaw tighten but stayed silent. "I found an overseas managed services provider that can handle all of this for $60,000 annually. That's a savings of $125,000 per year." Our CEO, Richard Chen, looked uncomfortable. "Carter, Anna's role involves federal clearances and classified data. We can't just outsource that." "Why not? It's just data management. The overseas team specializes in secure systems." "Not federal classified systems," I interjected. "Those require U.S. citizenship, background investigations, and specific security clearances that take months to obtain. You can't outsource roles that touch defense classified data." Carter's expression hardened. "Anna, I appreciate your perspective, but I'm making an executive decision here. We're moving forward with the transition. I need you to document your processes for the new team." Over the next week, Carter brought in representatives from the outsourcing firm, a company based in Eastern Europe that specialized in enterprise data management. I sat through meetings where they asked questions that made it clear they'd never worked with federal security protocols. "Can we access the servers remotely via standard SSH?" "No," I explained. "Access requires a physical hardware authentication token, biometric verification, and connection from a specific secure terminal. Remote access to classified systems is prohibited." "About using a VPN?" "Absolutely not. VPN connections from foreign IPs to DoD contracted systems would trigger immediate lockdown and federal investigation." Carter interrupted, frustrated. "This is exactly the kind of overcomplicated nonsense we're trying to eliminate. It's just data. We're making this harder than it needs to be." "It's not just data. It's classified defense information. The protocols exist for national security, not bureaucratic inconvenience." "Well, we're going to modernize this process." The next day, Carter called me into his office. "Anna, we've decided to move forward with the transition immediately. Your last day is tomorrow. We'll need your badge, your security token, and documentation of all your access credentials. You're terminating me while we're in the middle of an active DoD contract? The overseas team will handle it. They don't have clearances. They can't legally access the systems. That's not your concern anymore. I took a breath. Carter, I need you to understand something. Those systems are designed to protect national security. They have automated defense protocols. If unauthorized access is attempted, the system locks down and alerts federal oversight. This isn't like resetting a password. He smiled condescendingly. Anna, I've managed enterprise systems at 3 Fortune 500 companies. I think I understand data security. Not like this, you don't. Your badge and token, now. I pulled the physical authentication token from my neck, a specialized hardware key that provided root access to our encrypted network. I placed it on his desk along with my badge. Good luck, I said quietly.
I packed my personal items into a box. 14 years of work, photos, certifications, awards, all fitting into a single cardboard box. My colleagues watched nervously as I walked out. Some knew what was about to happen. Others had no idea. I drove home in silence, made tea, and sat in my living room waiting. The system I'd built had multiple layers of protection. Layer 1, physical authentication token, which Carter now had. Layer 2, biometric verification tied to my fingerprints and retinal scan. Layer 3, behavioral analysis that tracked normal usage patterns. Layer 4, IP address restriction to specific secure terminals within our building. Layer 5, automated threat detection that flagged any deviation from normal protocols. Carter had the physical token, but that was only one layer. The outsourced team would try to access the system from foreign IP addresses without proper biometric credentials, using methods that didn't match normal patterns. The system would interpret this as a breach attempt, and federal protocols required that suspected breaches of classified defense systems be reported immediately to DoD oversight. I waited. At 11:23 a.m. the next morning, the outsourced team attempted their first login. I didn't see it happen, but I knew exactly what occurred based on the system architecture I designed. They used the physical token Carter provided. They connected from an IP address in Eastern Europe. They attempted to bypass biometric verification using admin override commands. The system's response was immediate and automatic. 11:23:15 a.m. Alert. Unauthorized authentication attempt detected. 11:23:16 a.m. Alert. Foreign IP accessing classified network. 11:23:18 a.m. Alert. Biometric verification failure. 11:23:20 a.m. Protocol red activated. 11:23:22 a.m. All systems entering encryption lockdown. 11:23:25 a.m. Federal notification sent to DoD security oversight. Within 3 minutes, every system was encrypted and locked. No one could access anything. Carter's physical token was useless without the biometric verification and proper authorization protocols. The building's server room automatically sealed, requiring federal authorization to reopen. And somewhere in the Pentagon, automated alerts were triggering emergency response protocols. At 2:34 p.m., I received a call from an unknown number. Ms. Kozlov, this is Major General Patricia Morrison, DoD Cybersecurity Command. We've received automated security alerts from Titan Defense Solutions indicating unauthorized foreign access to classified systems. You're listed as the primary security authority. What's your current status? I was terminated yesterday, General. I no longer work for Titan. Long pause. You were terminated during an active contract? Who authorized that? The CFO, Carter Reeves. And who currently holds your security clearances and access credentials? No one has my clearances. They can't be transferred. They're tied to my background investigation. As for access, the CFO has my physical token, but the system requires multi-factor authentication he doesn't have. Ms. Kozlov, we have federal agents en route to Titan headquarters. The building is being secured as a potential national security incident. We need you on site immediately. General, I'm no longer employed there. If you need my expertise, we'll need to discuss terms. Another pause. Excuse me? I'm happy to assist with the security incident, but as an independent consultant, not as their employee. They terminated me. If they want my help, they can hire me on my terms. I could hear what might have been a suppressed laugh. Understood. We'll handle the corporate negotiations. Get to the site within the hour.
I arrived at Titan headquarters to find it surrounded by federal vehicles, armed agents at every entrance. The building was in complete lockdown. Carter stood in the lobby looking like he might vomit. Richard Chen, our CEO, was on the phone, his face gray. Major General Morrison was a stern woman in her 50s who looked like she'd dealt with incompetent contractors before. "Miss Kozlov," she greeted me. "Walk me through what happened." I explained the termination, the outsourcing decision, and the system's automated security protocols. So the CFO attempted to give foreign nationals access to classified defense systems? He didn't understand what he was doing, but functionally, yes. She turned to Carter. "You're aware this is a federal crime." Carter's face went white. "I didn't know. They said it was just data management." "It's classified defense data, Mr. Reeves. The penalty for unauthorized disclosure to foreign nationals is up to 10 years in federal prison." Richard stepped forward. "General, this was a terrible mistake. What do we need to do to resolve this?" "First, the systems need to be unlocked and verified secure. Second, Ms. Kozlov needs to be reinstated with full authority. Third, Mr. Reeves needs to be removed from any role involving federal contracts." Richard looked at me. "Anna, please, name your terms." I pulled out a contract I'd drafted the night before. Full reinstatement at Senior Compliance Architect with a 40% salary increase to $260,000 annually. Back pay from termination date. Direct reporting to the board, not to any CFO or COO. Consulting contract with DoD oversight as the primary federal liaison. And Carter signs a legally binding agreement never to interfere with security protocols again. Carter started to object. The Major General cut him off. "Those terms are reasonable given the circumstances. I suggest you accept them." Richard nodded. "Done. All of it." I walked to the secured server room with the Major General and 2 federal agents. Using my biometric credentials and the physical token Carter had surrendered, I initiated the unlock sequence. Identity verified. Kozlov Anna. TSS CI clearance. Biometric match confirmed. Authorized override accepted. Encryption lockdown releasing. The systems came back online one by one. I ran full diagnostics to verify no data had been accessed or compromised. Everything was intact. The security protocols had worked exactly as designed. "All systems secure, General. No breach occurred. The automated defenses prevented access." "Excellent work, Ms. Kozlov. This system architecture is impressive." "Thank you, ma'am. It's designed to assume breach before incompetence. Anyone attempting unauthorized access triggers immediate lockdown." She smiled slightly. "That assumption probably saved your company from federal prosecution." Over the next week, I worked with federal auditors to document the incident. Carter was removed from his position. The overseas outsourcing contract was terminated. I assumed my new role with expanded authority and direct oversight of all federal compliance matters. The board established a new policy: no personnel changes involving federal contracts without security clearance review. 6 months later, I'm sitting in my expanded office with a direct line to DoD oversight and authority over a team of 3 junior compliance specialists. Carter is working at a private equity firm, far from government contracts. Titan Defense Solutions learned an expensive lesson about the difference between data management and classified security infrastructure. And I learned something too. Loyalty without recognition is self-betrayal. I'd spent 14 years building a system so robust it could protect itself even when I wasn't there, but I'd also built it in a way that made me irreplaceable. The physical token Carter took wasn't enough. The access credentials he thought he could transfer weren't transferable. The expertise he thought he could outsource required clearances that took years to obtain. I wasn't just the person managing the system. I was the foundation the system was built on. And when they tried to replace that foundation, the entire structure protected itself and me.
If you're in a specialized field, here's what this story should teach you. 1. Build systems that require you, not through sabotage, but through legitimate expertise. My system required biometric credentials, specific clearances, and deep technical knowledge. That wasn't job security through gatekeeping, it was proper security architecture. 2. Understand your legal protections. Federal security protocols aren't bureaucratic nonsense. They're legal requirements with serious penalties. I knew the regulations better than my CFO did, and that knowledge protected me. 3. Document everything. I had detailed documentation of every security protocol, every federal requirement, every clearance necessity. When Carter claimed I was overcomplicating things, I had regulations to back me up. 4. Know when you're irreplaceable. Some roles truly can't be outsourced or quickly replaced. If your expertise requires years of clearances, specialized knowledge, or unique authority, recognize that value. 5. Be willing to walk away. When the Major General called, I could have rushed back desperate to fix things. Instead, I negotiated from a position of strength. They needed me more than they needed them. 6. Let your work speak for itself. I didn't sabotage anything. I didn't delete data. I built proper security systems that functioned exactly as designed. When incompetent people tried to bypass those systems, the systems protected themselves. This story isn't about revenge. It's about understanding that some expertise can't be replaced by cheaper alternatives. Carter saw a $185,000 salary and thought, cost center. He didn't see 14 years of federal security expertise, top-secret clearances, personal relationships with DoD oversight, and intimate knowledge of complex defense protocols. He didn't understand that just data was actually classified national security information with legal protections. He thought he could save money. Instead, he triggered a federal investigation, nearly lost the company's defense contracts, and ended up paying me significantly more to fix his mistake. The lesson for employers? Understand what you're actually buying before you try to replace it with a cheaper option. The lesson for specialized professionals? Build real value, protect it legally, and never underestimate your worth. Thanks for watching this story. If you work in cybersecurity, federal compliance, or any specialized field where you've been undervalued, drop a comment below. Your expertise matters. Hit subscribe for more stories about professional leverage, specialized knowledge, and standing up for your worth. And remember, some foundations can't be replaced. Make sure you're one of them. See you next time.